I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, September the 22nd, brought to you in part by Toromox, the Moxie with the Moxie. Toromox treats infections and infestations due to internal and external parasites in beef cattle, and it's dung beetle friendly. For more information, go to norbrook.com. Are the Packers scrambling? And most of you will say likely not. They're always in charge. They always let it be known that they're the ones in charge. I remember each week back when I was hanging out at the St. Joe Stockyards, and an old commission man friend of mine, Bill Bray, that was on a Wednesday, and he would ask if there had been any fat cattle trade as of yet, and I would tell him about, like I tell you, I'd be kind of disgruntled saying there wasn't much trade, and I'd say, well, you know, they only got 80 cents here at that time, but they're going to have to give more next week. And he'd say, no, they don't. And he was right. They didn't have to. They're always in charge. They got the Packer mentality. They stick very close to the Packers playbook. They're doing that this week again. But they are showing signs that there's some scrambling going on out there. We have heard rumors there middle of the week that one major is going to 36 hours a week because they're not able to get enough cattle put together. If they would try a little harder, they could buy more cattle, but they're not going to raise the price, at least not on the negotiated trade, to get those cattle bought. So they're forced to back off a little bit, and they've already backed off so much. All the Packers have. We've seen extremely light harvest here for the past few months, and it just continues to get lighter and lighter and lighter. I've talked to several feedlots that say that they are close to the end of their calf crop cattle. Those are the cattle that are almost a year and a half old out there. That's the big glut of placements that we see in the fall and the winter there. And we call those the calves because they're not a year old whenever they go on to feed there. Not like the yearling cattle that we see come off the grass pastures in the summer and the fall. Those are the yearlings, but a lot of them have gotten to the end of their calf crop already. Well, if they're already to the end of their calf crop, the yearlings are not quite done yet. So they're really green, and that's another sign that everybody's in good shape as far as getting their marketing done, leaving less cattle on the show list for Packers to buy, and likely they haven't even scheduled them if they're on a formula type deal because they don't have anything that they feel like is ready. I've heard of other things going on. I know that some majors, at least one major that I know of, is sending fat cattle to their cow plants because the cow numbers are getting so short. I think that will alleviate here for a short time here when we start seeing those really late fall and early winter calves being sent to town, especially through the video delivery. And then they'll bring those cows in and preg those cows, and they'll be sending loads of them into the cow plants. But the cows are really short right now, and as short as the fat cattle are, if they're sending fat cattle to a cow plant to fill the kills, that's giving you an idea that they're short of everything. I've heard some other things that are going out there with your Packers that shows me signs of scrambling. Here of South Dakota top quality cattle being sent to Kansas plants for slaughter. Here of Iowa cattle going to Pennsylvania for slaughter. Here of Texas cattle going to Arizona for slaughter. It's not cheap to send cattle long distances. It adds up pretty fast. You can figure it per mile it's going to be as much as diesel or a little bit higher. And diesel's getting higher every single day, guys. So if they're putting that much wheels under the cattle, they're having a hard time filling their slots all around. But they are going to keep all that close to their chest. They're not going to show, they're never going to let us see them sweat. So we just have to see the rumor mill and visit about it that way. But they're going to stick close to the Packer playbook, use the Packer mentality to make everybody believe that they don't need the cattleman, they don't need the feedlots, they've got everything under control. But I think this tug of war between tight supplies and light harvest is about to come to a head. They have a lot of product that's contracted to their customers, and they've got a lot of it promised, and they've got needs they've got to fill. We know that their coffers in their freezers are low, and I want something's fixing to give here. And we know that the numbers of market-ready cattle are going to get even tighter as we go into the fourth quarter, and even tighter yet as we go into the first quarter of 2024. So it's going to give at some point, and I think that we possibly could see these packers get really aggressive and start launching the price here on the negotiated cattle, because that's the only place they can really step up their purchases. Let's talk about your board on Thursday. October live cattle futures were down $1.80 at 184.97. December was down 202 at 189.50. Our cattle futures have been very volatile this past week. Your back months on your live cattle were down $1.57 to down 202. September feeder cattle also down, but not as much. Now on the other topsy-turvy days, we saw your feeder cattle more volatile and your live cattle less, but on Thursday we saw the live cattle go down quite a bit. September feeder cattle were down 90 cents, 250, 327. Of course, it's getting close to the end of September, and they've got to stop trading at that huge premium if they're going to line up here at the end of the month. So they can't move too much one way or the other, but they could have went down a little bit more on September. Now October was down 280 at 257.77. Your back months were all down big, from $2 to 287. And you think, well, corn must have been a lot higher. No. December new crop corn was down 7 cents at 475 and a quarter. Your November new crop beans down 26 and a quarter cent at 12.93 and 3/4. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for December down 18 and a half cents at 7.10 and a half. And now you're beginning to think, well, all of your ag commodities were lower, which is pretty much right. I think it might have had quite a bit to do with all this talk we're hearing about how high oil could get. And we know how much your ag products depend on freight. And that could be why so much of them were down this hard here late in the week. We talk about your fat cattle trade, direct trade out of your 5-area feeding region. We saw a little bit more trade in the northern plains. Iowa had 2,200 head confirmed sales on Thursday, 6,200 head for the week. They got a lot of business to do here on Friday. 183 to 187, that's a big price range on a live basis out of Iowa. That goes from maybe a little bit lower on the bottom side to a little bit higher on the top side. But I think as a whole, your cash prices in the northern plains are just a tick better than they were last week, which is going to be a positive sign. Your dress sales, 292 only in Iowa. Nebraska sold 8,900 head confirmed on Thursday, 10,700 head for the week. That's about a third of what they typically do, so they got a lot of business to do here on Friday. But live sales in Nebraska, 184 to 186, and dress sales 292 to 293. And like I said, all those quotes, both live and dressed, are going to be steady to firm compared to last week. Kansas only sold 100 head, not even 100 head. On Thursday, confirmed only 150 head for the week. And the only price we saw was a dress price. We don't see a lot of dress trade in Kansas, but it'd be northern Kansas, and they'd be going north to kill at 292 dressed. I did hear a rumor of some 183 in Kansas late on Thursday. Can't confirm that, but it was one of the sources that I use saying there was some 183 out there in Kansas. That would be steady to a buck higher. But like I said, can't confirm that. We'll see what happens here on Friday. Texas has not sold a hoof so far this week, which is not out of the ordinary these days. Box beef cutout values. Another thing about your packers scrambling, why can they not get these cutout values to go up? Is it that they're just showing us that they're creeping down all the time because we're going to be afraid that they get into red ink and we're going to feel sorry for them? I don't think so. I think they're legit having a hard time getting these spot cash cutout values to go back up. They back them off a little bit, and then they move some product, and then they try to raise the price, and then they can't move it. And like I said, these cutout value quotes are not negotiated. It's basically like a menu. Your packers set the price, and they just see if they can move product or not. But choice cuts, Thursday afternoon, were up 67 cents at 301.93. Your selects were up 32 cents at 279. Slaughter, and it's catching up maybe just a little bit here middle of the week, but it's still going to be light. But 498,000 estimated harvest through Thursday. That's 4,000 lower than last week, 13,000 lower than the same week a year ago. Guys, don't forget our Punchy Pick of the Month contest. We're having a lot of fun with that. We're getting here to the latter part of the month. Somebody's going to get the big grand prize here the last day of the month, and that's going to be some really cool stuff. Jackets, sweatshirts, caps, and the like from Beaver Feed and Beaver, Oklahoma, and Beaver County Stockyards, and they both got cool stuff. And then the big grand prize is the whole case of Farapiece, that revolutionary product that everybody is talking about, that is literally changing the industry, especially on these ball and calves, where you just drizzle the stuff over their nose and over their pole, and it takes their anxiety away, and they calm down. They quit bawling quite so much. They go to feed, they drink, and they calm down. And not just on ball and calves, all classes of cattle. It just takes their anxiety away, and it's really quite a product. And I encourage you to try it. But if you send in a Punchy Pick to punchy@nationalbeefwire.com and you win the Punchy Pick of the Month contest, we're going to send you a whole case of it. Talk about what else is going on. If you like to watch the feeder flash, but you don't get it every day, and sometimes you struggle to find it, got a pretty easy lesson here. Just text the word flash to 209 Corbett or 209-267-2488. If you do that, you will have the feeder flash link texted to you every morning or every business morning, and then you don't have to look for it anymore. But just text flash to 209 Corbett, and we'll send you that report. There'll be a link to it, text it to you every morning. All you ought to do is touch that and enjoy the feeder flash. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DVAuction late in the day on Thursday sitting at 251.93, basically steady, but down 6 cents compared to the end of the day on Wednesday. But pretty much steady here. The market's holding its own. We didn't really have any real big stick-out sales on Thursday, so that's kind of encouraging there. If you're interested in some South Dakota feeder cattle and calves, get on to St. Onge Livestock. My buddy Justin Tupper, who's the president of the U.S. Cattlemen's Association, good friend of mine, good guy. He runs that sale there. He's got 800 calves and yearlings there. His weigh up start at 10 in the morning, and the feeder cattle start at noon. He is now on DVAuction also, so you can go onto DVAuction.com, view that sale. If you're interested in bidding, just get a hold of him in the office and get approved for that. Talk about your big sales on Thursday. How about Farmers and Ranchers Livestock in Salina, Kansas? They had 3,200 head. Feeders were kind of unevenly steady from $2 lower to $2 higher. They did have a stick-out deal there. It was 2 loads of grass steers weighed 909 and bring 254. Big time quote there. How about winter livestock in Pratt? And it seems Pratt and Dodge have kind of got over that hump and not having many receipts because they're getting their numbers back up again. 2,800 head for Pratt. Feeder steers were steady to $2 higher. The heifers were off a little bit, 5 to 7 lower, but the market reporting's not the best there, so you just have to use your own judgment there. But calves were lightly tested at Pratt, but they got their numbers back, and they're going to start having calf specials now at Winter Livestock in Pratt, and I think also in Dodge City too. So if you're interested in some calves or you got some to sell, you might want to get a hold of them there. Your National Beefwire stick out sale of the day is Bluegrass Stockyard South in Stanford, Kentucky. Now, a lot of times I kind of hate to pull the whole market report out there out of an eastern market, because they had many pot loads of cattle there, but they also had their normal singles and plainer cattle, and they're put in there on top of them. But I still thought that the quotes per hundredweight there, or per 100-pound classification, was very impressive, and I'll show them to you on the steers. You look at your best tested weights out of Bluegrass Stockyard South. 542 head of 7-weight steers averaged 762 with a weighted average price of 250.69. 322 head of 8-weight steers averaged 834 at 240.76. Way out east there. How about 243 head of 9-weight steers in Stanford, Kentucky? Average weight 946. Weighted average price 229.96. Give you some individual quotes from all around. How about Orland Livestock Commission Yard in Orland, California? And that's on the west side, guys, way out there. 53 head of steers, weight 618, and bring 283 standing in the ring in Western California there. How about Paris Stockyards in Paris, Kentucky? 62 steers, weight 836, and bring 255. But the most impressive quote that I've seen on Thursday, in your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day, come out of a new member of our broadcast family on DVAuction, New Cambria Livestock Auction in New Cambria, Missouri. That's north central Missouri. They got really good cattle around there. 53 steers, weight 727, and bring 289 1/4. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.